Well, here's the thing. Let's put action into a very clear perspective. We are in no way trying to talk you out of action because it is so fun. We are just wanting the alignment to come first so that the action is inspired. And in that flow, it doesn't feel like hard work. It feels like, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's a good idea. If we were going to apply the words hard work to anything that's going on here, we would say it's not the easiest thing in the world to get yourself focused into what you want with so many around you clamoring for other things. There's a lot of distraction. And so the hard work is the focus. The hard work is the aligning. It's like, think about, this is a ridiculously silly analogy, but it will be a good starting point here. So imagine that you are like Esther and you're on your way walking to school. You're little and it's not far. Let's say it's 2 miles. It wasn't for Esther, but let's just say to make the story better. And you can walk to school, even if it's cold, even if it's raining, even if it's snowing, you can do it. But then your neighbor says, hop in, I'm going the same way. So you hop in and you use that vehicle to do the same thing. The vehicle that we're wanting you to feel from us is the vehicle of aligning with the energy that creates worlds. We like to explain it this way. When you know what you don't want, you launch the rockets to what you do want. And that vortex who collects all of that desire and the cooperative components that are melded and meshed together. This is a universal engine that has a lot of calling power, that when you ride the wave of it, it is easy. It's fighting it that's hard. It's fighting against the current of well-being that is wearing you all out. You think it's your hard work that's wearing you out. It's not going with the flow. That's what's wearing you out. Unworthiness is not going with the flow. Believing that you have to justify the good that comes to you through hard work is that unworthiness that is going against the flow. So what is the distinction? When should I make the effort? When resistance is present, when should I make the effort to bring myself back into alignment? And when should I just ride the boulder down the hill and take the consequences of whatever's in motion? We say it's all about the momentum factor and where you are within it. Sometimes the contrast is light enough or slight enough that you can divert your attention from it. Or it might be a little more concentrated, heavier contrast, but still light enough that you can do a focus wheel and bring yourself back into alignment about it. And sometimes it's contrast that came in response to a belief that you've been holding for a long time, so it pushes a big button in you, and it's not likely that you're going to be able to do anything about it right here, right now. So what we're saying to you is, if you try to do something about those larger contrasts that have deeper roots within you, right here, right now, it is almost every time just going to exacerbate it. So if you're struggling for the relief, then just let it go. If relief comes easily, and it should, if you're anywhere in the vicinity, relief will come easily to you. And if it doesn't come easily, then just say, this is a bigger thing for me, and I'm not going to solve it right now, this red hot minute, and trying to do it right now is hitting it too head on. I'm not making it better, I'm making it worse. And you know what we mean by that. You can feel when you're struggling and trying. Esther has become such an appreciator of focus wheels. But there are times that she can feel that it's just not working, and she just smacks her book closed and sets it on the table and says, later, gator. She can feel she's getting nowhere with this effort, you see. So what we're suggesting, we've been saying the words to you, get out ahead of the moment, get out ahead of the manifestation, get out ahead of it. And what we mean by that is from a neutral place, which means when you first wake up, from a neutral place, which means when you're not feeling any strong emotion of any kind, from a neutral place, which often happens after you've meditated and quieted your mind, from a neutral place, that's the best way for you to begin some positive momentum about something when negative momentum has been going. If you've got strong positive momentum going and you're feeling elation or appreciation or love, you never want to stop that momentum, do you? You want to just keep having that love fest. You want to just continue to focus upon what's causing you to feel that way and keep that momentum going. It's only when your emotions are telling you that it's a negative momentum that you've got going on that you want to try to withdraw your attention from it. We just want to help you let yourselves off the hook a little bit by saying, don't expect to withdraw your attention from it all at once. Don't expect every belief that you hold that isn't serving you, like I'm not worthy, or I'm not smart, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not good at this, or I don't understand this, or I can't do this, or someone else is better at than I am. When you find yourself having some of those negative momentum thoughts, don't expect to change those beliefs all at once. But most of all, don't expect to change any of them by addressing the negative belief. Every subject is two subjects, what is wanted and the absence of what is wanted. So if you've got some patterns of thought going, such as, I don't have enough money, and I've never had enough money, and I hardly know anybody that's got enough money, except that guy, and I hate him. He's got plenty of money. He's probably doing something illegal. No, he probably inherited it, which is worse. When you have these thoughts about something, and they've been going on for a while, you just want to let them lay as dormant as you can for a little while. And we want to say, they're not going to be that dormant, but at least now you'll know that you're not wanting to continue to add fuel to the fire by giving more and more attention to it. So what are we really saying to you with all of this rambling? We'll just put it to you very quickly. Stop focusing upon the things that you call issues or problems, because you're just making them worse. When you have an issue or a problem, when there's someone who's giving you grief, when there's something that's got your attention, and when you think about it, you don't like it, and then you want to talk about it, do your best not to talk about it. Do your best not to think about it. So, that's all we've got for you. Have a nice day. Goodbye. So then you say, okay, I hear you, Abraham, and I'm going to think about that. I'm not going to think about that. I'm not going to think about that thing. I'm not going to think about that thing I'm thinking about. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about that. I'm not going to think about that thing I'm not going to think about it. 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 I'm not going to think about it because I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about it because it doesn't feel good when I think about it. I'm not going to think, I haven't felt good about this when I've thought about it for a really long time. I'm not going to think about it. There's a lot of us that think about this and none of us like it. I'm not going to think about this thing. I'm not going to think about it. What about you? Are you going to think about this thing? I think we should join a group. We'll call it Things We're Not Going to Think About. I'm not going to think about that, and I'm not going to think about that, and I'm not going to think about that, and I'm not going to think about that. Wait, let me make a list of these things I'm not going to think about. I'm not going to think about that, or that, or that, or that, or that. Let me prioritize this. This is the thing that I hate the most that I'm not going to think about. Yeah. Remember that time? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to think about that anymore. That was a bad time. That was the hardest time of my life. I'm not going to think about that anymore. I'm not going to think, oh, you too, huh? Yeah? Yeah? Susie too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what happens is you just begin to gather momentum. So now imagine you're in San Francisco. You been there? The hills are crazy. And your car is perched on what they believe is a reasonable road. It isn't. At the top of a hill, and the parking brake is not on, and your car is in neutral, and it's just perched right there on the crest of the hill. And so just for kicks, you bump it from behind just a little bit, and it begins to roll ever so slowly. And then you realize that the potential of it getting away from you is great. So you just step out in front of it and just let it bump up against you. And you're able to stop that momentum because the momentum was so slight. But if you were at the bottom of that hill and your car is rolling down the hill toward you, we don't think this is a very good idea. And you understand that. You understand the momentum of that. What we want you to understand is life is supposed to feel good to you. And so eat a little of it. That's what contrast is. And launch your rockets of desire. And then get general enough in your thoughts. That's what meditation will do. It will quiet your mind back to the basics enough that then new thoughts about all of those new pathways can be made. It's like this. You don't mean to do it, but all of you do it. Esther 2 is that you know what you don't want and you know what you do want. So you make an effort to get back to what you do want with many of the processes. Esther uses every process that we've ever offered. Focus wheels. She writes thousands of focus wheels. She tries to get on rampages of appreciation. In other words, she tries to find positive thought. So you participate in a thought that doesn't feel good, and then you improve it, and then you participate in a thought that doesn't feel good, and you improve it, and you participate in a thought that doesn't feel good, and you improve it, and you participate in a thought that doesn't feel good, and you improve it, and then you participate in a thought that doesn't feel good, and you improve it, and pretty soon you just make a little rut, a little groove. Even though your inner being's way over there, you can't quite make it out of that rut. It's like you've got a leash that you only let yourself out a little ways on it before you jerk yourself back. Here I am in the real world with things to do and places to go and people to see and so on. And you've been trained to be objective and weigh the pros and the cons and the pluses and the minuses. And it feels logical to observe. It does. But you've got to put it into context. Observation of what is, constant observation of what is, will hold you only in what is. And this is what's so interesting about this. As you have been observing what is and launching a rocket, and observing what is and launching a rocket, and observing what is and launching a rocket, and here's your inner being over here with all of these rockets calling you over here, but when you keep observing only what is and you don't go, it is exhausting. You gotta go. Which means you've got to find some way of letting go of what is. And you don't have to let go of what is all day long. Don't do that. Go where you need to go. Keep eating, feeding your children, go to work, earn money, all of that stuff. Don't take long naps. Do take long naps, but not long naps. But find a way to quiet your mind enough that you can begin to let some of what you've been asking for come in. And it is our promise to you. You see, it feels like I'm going to need the money before I feel better, or I'm going to need the relationship before I feel better, or I'm going to need to be recognized at work or have more respect before I can really feel good. But that isn't true. You just need a little satisfaction. You just need a little satisfaction, and then a little more, and then a little more, and then a little more. So if you would let your new intention be, I'm just going to get ready to get ready. I don't need the full manifestation. I just want to get a little more ready for it, and then a little more ready for it. It is our promise to you that the depression will lift, and the lethargy will lift, and the tiredness will lift way before the manifestation comes, because it's not the absence of the manifestation that's making you feel that way. It's the thought process that's keeping you from your true thought power. It's the not letting the thought energy flow through you. The thought energy, once you let it start flowing through you, will give you every manifestation in the world that you've ever asked for.